It is coming. I'm telling you, it's not. I'm not just assuming. There is a project going on. They are working on it. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen.
Let's do it. I want to see Pulsechain at 7-Eleven.
Based on what I have heard from reliable sources, okay, reliable hexagon, and it's gonna spread in Europe more than America first. I mean, the first 300 will be the majority ATMs will be in Europe. In 2 years, people will talk about Pulse Chain and the records that they will break in 2 to 3 years.
I do know the community is very strong, and that's important in crypto because that's what look at like Dogecoin, for example. Dogecoin came out 9.5 years ago and it stayed around. It was one of the few meme coins that was like legitimate and had a big community following, and that's what kept it alive. Other major platforms, every major platform has Dogecoin. But it's funny how that happened because the community just kept it alive. And they were just adamant about it. So we need more Pulse memes. That's what we need is more Pulse chain memes, stuff that make it like fun, like maybe like a mascot or something, kind of some sort of a Pulse character. All right, looks like Coin Tiger Exchange just listed Pulse USDT. And it's the first ever direct yacht on ramp into our ecosystem, someone says. Nice. That's good. It's going to get more people in and out. Hopefully it's not just whales cashing out.
Speaking of whales cashing out or anyone cashing out, just wondering, trying to gauge the room here. I'm curious, when we have access to these platforms like Liquid Loans or Power City, wondering what would be the reason why anyone who wanted to take profits wouldn't use one of those services and be able to hold on to their collateral? Why would we want to sell our tokens? Why wouldn't we use something like that? It's something I would plan on doing in the future when I decide to take profits. Just curious the opinion of the room.
Everyone has their own strategies. Some people are already multimillionaires and they don't want to lock their money somewhere for 2 3 years in order to gain 100x or something like that. They don't believe that they're gonna make 100x, and what they do, they make 2 3 5x and they cash out, and that creates an opportunity for the newcomers, for those who missed the sacrifice, who missed when it hit the bottom. So it's a kind of healthy thing, and we have some people who have invested money just to gain like 2 3 to up to 10x, then cash out. So there can be different reasons. Somebody probably suddenly needs the money and he has to cash out. He has no other choice, to no other source of income or anything. They have to cash out. So people can have different kinds of excuses or reasons to cash out, but it will always create an opportunity for new people.
The average IQ is between like 85 and 110. Some people fall on the low end of that and they just don't know. They see dollars and they sell. Like that guy who sold $690,000 worth of Pulse this morning and dumped the price by 12%. It instantly bounced back in 10 seconds as the price arbitraged, right? Did he know he was going to lose $55,000 to price impact by not breaking up his order? Probably not. He has $2.5 million left in Pulse in that wallet. He has over $3 million. He doesn't care. So he's selling $690,000 to give himself liquidity or a buffer in case the price dips more. I don't know. But that guy probably doesn't want to wait 2 months for liquid loans to come out, or maybe he doesn't know about liquid loans, right? So you don't know what you don't know. And some people, they just do what's in front of them and they make dumb decisions, or maybe he was drunk or misclicked. But all I know is if I had $3 million worth of Pulse in my wallet, I would not sell $700,000 in one order because that's really dumb. But whales do what they do. And maybe he was trying to shock the market or, spook people to sell more. And he quickly realized that's not going to work with this much liquidity. And I would say generally, a lot of people make a lot of money in crypto very fast, right? So they don't know how to manage it. And sometimes they get excited when they see like all these numbers. So, or they get scared, right? And who's to say what was going on in that guy's head? Why he's not farming, because he literally has $3 million in crypto. He could be farming. And if he were to be farming that Pulse, I mean, I'll tell you right now, in the pool that I'm in, I don't want him to be in there because obviously he'd kill it. But if he was farming that much money, he would make $30,000 a day, $31,000 a day. But he's not. He's just sitting on it. Hasn't done anything since the airdrop, actually. So who knows what's going on with these people? Maybe they don't care about money. Maybe they just know they're rich and they just are like, whatever.
Thanks for the input. Appreciate that. I was just noticing yesterday, Power City made an announcement regarding partnership with a payment processing company that would allow folks to use Pulse to make payments. And I just thought to myself, regarding these loan protocols using our tokens as collateral, I just thought, why would we want to use that when we could just use a service like Power City or Liquid Loans and then figure out a different way to make payments as opposed to losing the collateral.
And also on those platforms, like there's a max LTV, right? So the loan to value. So you say it's 70 to 80%. That's typically what they let you borrow. And the liquidation threshold would be 85%. So say, if you had $1 million, you could only borrow 800,000 against it. You wouldn't be realizing the full potential. And then your collateral, which is $1 million, would be at risk of liquidation if the price drops just a small percentage. So that's the risk of using those kind of platforms, right? You're not realizing the full value. And if you did have, a safe amount of money borrowed, say you had $1 million and you took out 50%, right? You only got $500,000, right? So you wanted the full $1 million or needed the full $1 million to reinvest into Pepe or whatever bullshit coins you're going to buy. Yeah, it's funny. It's really interesting to see the rationale or like the lack of action that some of these whales have. Maybe that's how they became whales. They were just lazy and they just never did anything and their money just went up. But it's funny to see, like, even, what was it, the God whale or whatever, that wallet, that dude has so much money. He's not farming. He has Pulse and Pulsex. He's not farming it. He was just sitting liquid.
Is that potentially a benevolent move on the person's part to not soak up all the benefits, leave some for the small fries?
Yeah, maybe they realize, like, if they were to be farming and dumping, it would hurt the price, or maybe they just don't want to suffer impermanent loss and they're being patient. I've noticed a lot of people, they had a game plan, or even myself, I had a game plan, but things just changed and didn't turn out the way we want, right? Like I was like, if we 2x or higher, I'll take my money out and whatever, but we never saw 2x on Pulsex. So I was like, okay, well, what do I do now, right? I had to change my game plan, change my strategy. And we were only really in profit for like 2.5 days. So what I did was I sold barely above sac rate, put it in Pulse, but Pulse has gone down since. So I still realized losses by making that move, but it was less so. I would have lost over 50, I would say like almost 55% if I had not, well, let me see. I would have lost 45% if I had not sold my Pulsex, right? But when I bought into Pulse, it was, I don't know, 40% higher. So I saved a little bit, but not an extreme amount.
So some of the things I'm questioning or speculating on, some of the stuff we're talking about will actually be quite different when we're a year or two into this process. Perhaps people are more educated or gains look different, etc.
The user adoption is going to grow, I think, and people are going to realize, like, it's not that hard to go from Ethereum to Pulse. It's pretty easy. You click one button. It's pretty cheap, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow in that regard because it's just a simple matter of like osmosis, right? I like to think of it like chemistry. Look how much money is in Ethereum and look how much money is in these other chains, right? And then it's just going to slowly grow and it's going to siphon that liquidity as the yields are higher, right? This is the attraction, right? These super high yields. And in order to farm, the majority of these farms, right? There's 9 farms now. 7 out of 9 of them are Pulse. And then 2 out of 9 are Pulsex. Yeah, something like that. Meaning that the majority of people getting into the farms will need to buy Pulse to farm.
Any opinion on whether or not part of the adoption in the future will come from what you might call a pancake swap 2.0 effect, something like 2021 all over again, where DeFi and farming, like we're talking about, becomes sort of trendy again, and then the benefits, the advances made with these ecosystems become more evident and more desirable?
There's always like a new wave of like people that come in, right? Like I think what I've seen a lot with Hex is a lot of newer crypto users that are kind of finding out about Hex and then trusting the Richard Hart ecosystem because it's been reputable and it has been like scam free for the most part. Other ecosystems are more murky. The waters are kind of like muddled and there's no real clear leaders, I guess, really to follow as far as like direction and guidance. Yeah, there's a few like CEOs here and there or whatever, but Richard Hart is a strong personality, so it creates this kind of like a cult following around Pulse. So yeah, I've seen a lot of newer people to crypto like rally around this. So with that being said, I don't think they have the experience with Pancake. And older investors, yeah, we may like have a bad taste in our mouth from getting burnt on farming in different ways. But if anything, it makes us smarter and it makes us more advanced in our farming strategies. All right, like I know not to farm the ink token pools. I know better. Why? Because it's the native reward token that's being distributed. You don't ever provide liquidity to that pool because it gets diluted by supply. It is the reward, right? So yeah, you see these high APRs, but that's a trap. You don't ever provide liquidity to those. Even if it is your reward, you're diluting your reward but even further by putting it in a pool that's going to go down in value. So that's the common mistake that people make, is that they get trapped in this idea that, oh, I'm going to put money into this ink token pool because it's like whatever percent APR and I have this token, like Pulsex, for example. And it's one of the 2 Pulsex pools. And my friend said that the other day and I was like, absolutely not. What are you doing, man? I was like, if you don't know how to farm, don't do that. He's a little younger, he's a little immature with this kind of thought process. And I had to explain it to him. I said, go into the highest APR farm, which is not related to the native token, which is ink, the one that's being distributed, you don't ever want to provide liquidity for that because you're exit liquidity for the market. What are we doing? We're selling the ink token every day, right? Would you want to be the exit liquidity for that? No, I don't. Look at the price. It's been trending down. It's down 73% or something in like 2 weeks. So common sense would say, don't buy that token. Don't provide that token liquidity. But it is an option. It's always an option, right? Just like making bad choices is always an option in life.
I feel like a lot of us cut our teeth in some ways on the previous DeFi run and learned a lot, and also see the improvements that were made in the design of this ecosystem. And it seems like a lot more optimism regarding our potential to create profits through the correct strategies.
I like it. I like it, especially at a time like now when we need a project to kind of latch onto in this bear market that is going to be decentralized and is going to be almost bulletproof in a sense. Because look at all the turbulence we just saw in the last 2 days, right? We had a back-to-back 1-2 punch that was fully calculated ahead of time. Like they knew what they were doing. They're trying to shock the market. They're trying to scare people out, and they're trying to shape things up, right? They're trying to show, hey, we're in charge. No messing around. Like we're going to come after all the big guys. We don't care how big you are. We're going to come right for you. So they're trying to send a message to the industry like, hey, stop doing what you're doing because we're watching very closely and we're going to be gunning for you, which is not cool because it's stifling innovation, right? And it's not just in the United States, it's globally. It's stifling innovation because look at what happened. It's shocking markets. It's making people lose money. Anyway, I think this next bull run will be cool though, because again, you have so many people that are coming in and it is relatively easy to understand like Hex and, you buy it, you stake it. Cool. You make more of it. It's an easy entry way. It's like a gateway crypto for people, right? They get into Hex and they're like, oh, okay, now I'm into Pulse and Pulsex, and they have all three. And then they start farming. They do all these other things, and they start learning about DeFi because now Hex is Hex has always been DeFi. Now we have a full DeFi ecosystem dedicated to Hex, Richard Heart, Pulse, Pulsex, like that whole stuff, right? That whole world. It's not going to be good to silo that economy and to kind of like close people out and to be closed-minded. If anything, we need to welcome in other projects and encourage them to deploy contracts on our chain. If anything, say, hey, reach out to other projects and be like, you guys should bring your project to Pulse, especially projects on AVAX because it's more expensive. Anything that's more expensive, right? AVAX, BSC, all those chains are more expensive. So you can be like, you guys should bring your liquidity and your project over to Pulse. It's so easy to bridge. And I'm sure some projects will eventually, or just redeploy, or go cross chain. But this whole idea that like other projects are bad, like everything else is a scam, but us, like it creates like a religion, and that's not good. You don't want to have this like they say, cult-like mentality, because it's going to push outsiders away. It's not going to allow people to be adopted, right? They're not going to be open to adopting into that kind of a closed-minded community. So I just want to see more like, open-mindedness from Hexicans and Pulse people, because again, it boils down to trust, right? Who do you trust and why? And I get it. There's a lot of mistrust in crypto, rightly so. But, in order to grow, you must open your heart and be vulnerable. And that's part of, I'm not saying let everyone rug pull you, but, bring people in and say, hey, bring your projects up here, bring your meme coins, bring your collateralized lending platforms like Granary Finance or whatever. All these projects should be over here.
Good stuff. Great conversation.
What exchanges can I use in the United States to bring fiat in?
What are you trying to buy? Are you trying to buy Pulse?
No, just in an overall in and out for my like to my bank. What is the recommended exchange?
What's a good fiat on ramp? Coinbase is okay. Even though they're going through shit right now, they're cool. Binance is chill. Binance US is fine. That still has all their stuff intact, as far as I know. There's a lot of on ramps and off ramps that charge higher fees. So you want to look at the fees and really, really watch how you're cashing out. And again, just, it all depends how you're selling and how you're buying and what you're selling and buying, I guess. Oftentimes people make the mistake of like sending their crypto to an exchange and then selling at market price. You're getting ripped off, and then cashing out, not through traditional means, but trying to cash out like a faster method, and they're paying extra fees like a wire fee, or cashing out directly with the to your debit card sometimes incurs a fee. Depends on the exchange. But if you do a traditional ACH withdrawal or deposit, it's cheap or free. Most places they don't charge anything for something like that. Coinbase, it's 100% free to do ACH. It just takes a little longer. But when I cash out, it's just usually within my account within a day, and I cash out directly. Traditional means through your bank account, through your checking account. You'd want to cash out through that way, but you need to be verified. You can't just like pop in and be like, hey, I don't want to put in my ID, give me money. You have to put in all your stuff, all your information.
Yeah, Gemini, Kraken, and Coinbase are like pretty well regulated exchanges in the US, so you're pretty much good with those three.